We're talking about ascending from the lowest lows right up to the highest peaks. By looking at the ancient, highly visual texts of Psalm 23 and Psalm 91, we're going to completely reframe how we see life's inevitable challenges. If you've ever felt stuck in a deep rut or kind of wondered why hardships hit even when you're doing your absolute best, these concepts, they're going to totally shift your perspective. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, the Valley of Shadows. So there's this universal baseline to the human experience, right? Absolutely everyone faces trouble, period. Take Psalm 23, verse 4. It says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Now, I want you to really visualize this spatial language being used here. It doesn't say you're just standing on some flat, boring plane of trouble. It says you are walking through a valley. Valleys are low. They're flanked by these massive, towering obstacles that literally block out the sun and cast these long, heavy shadows. It's an image that feels deeply isolating and honestly incredibly daunting.
And all of that vivid imagery begs a pretty massive question. What do we make of all this? How are we supposed to process or even understand this kind of inevitable suffering? I mean, if the source texts agree that navigating this dark, claustrophobic valley is just, a standard part of the journey, how do we get through it without getting completely overwhelmed by the sheer weight of it? Well, the universal baseline is just that. Everybody will go through challenges. Nobody gets a free pass here. But, and here is the absolutely crucial shift in perspective we need to look at, the text isn't just saying, hey, bad things happen, deal with it. It's actually suggesting that there's a profound structural reason for these challenges. The valley, it's not a mistake, it's not an accident. It actually serves a very specific structural purpose in your overall growth.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Examination.
Okay, let's really dive into this, because the source text introduces this mind-blowing pivot. It reframes trouble using this brilliant school analogy. Think about taking an exam. By definition, an examination is a necessary challenge you have to face right at the boundary of your current level before you can be promoted to a greater height. Without taking that exam, you simply cannot move up to the next class. The text totally acknowledges that, yeah, an exam is exactly where fear creeps in. The pressure's on. But that struggle, that test, is the literal mechanism required for your advancement. So picture this visually as a three-step process. First, you hit a wall. You reach the absolute final limit of your current level. You've learned all you possibly can where you are right now. Second, you enter the examination. That's the valley. That's the heavy challenge, the trouble, the shadows. And third, if you excel, you break right through that ceiling and move up to the next class. The source material essentially argues that God allows you to reach this point of examination at the very end of a level so you can prove what you've learned, knock it out of the park, and ultimately get promoted. You're not being buried in those dark shadows, guys. You are just being tested for elevation. Moving right along to Section 3, the ascent. Now listen to the incredible spatial shift that happens here in Psalm 91, verses 14 through 16. It says, "Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name." Visually, look at what just happened. We've gone from trudging through this incredibly low, shadowed valley to suddenly being set on high. Passing that examination of faith and actively choosing to hold on to love and trust during the darkest times literally elevates your position. And the absolute coolest part is the sheer volume of cascading blessings that follow. Deliver him, set him on high, answer him, honor him, satisfy with life. It's just boom, boom, boom. This set him on high, answer him, honor him, satisfy with long life. It's just boom, boom, boom. This builds such tremendous energetic momentum. It shows us that the reward for navigating that tough valley and actually passing the examination isn't just basic survival. No way. It is an overwhelming, multi-layered elevation to the peak.
Finally, Section 4, the Companion.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real key here. How do we actually pass the test when the valley is so intensely dark? Well, the texts present a really stark visual choice. On one side, you have trouble without God. That's a challenge faced entirely in cold isolation, which the text describes as having no comforter. On the flip side, you have trouble with God. Having the warmth and protection of keeping your focus on God in absolutely every situation radically alters the whole experience. It ensures you are never braving that storm alone. So, here is the ultimate takeaway from this explainer. Having God does not mean we will never face problems. Remember that universal baseline we talked about earlier? Everyone takes the exam. The goal here isn't some magical fairy tale life completely free of trouble or valleys or shadows. The promise, the true ultimate comfort, is that you will simply not face them alone. The Lord promises to be with him in trouble.
As we wrap up this journey from the valley all the way up to the peak, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. When you face your next examination, and you for sure will face one, who will be walking right there beside you? Think about it. Keep learning, keep ascending those peaks, and I'll catch you guys in the next explainer.